So, my first question, Mr. Rose, is with UKIP coming close in the EC by-election a few years ago, was it important that you built on that to gain your first MPs, or do you think the bandwagon was already rolling?
The bandwagon's already rolling. I think it's taken about 15, 20 years to actually for people to start waking up and taking notice. Now, what UKIP have achieved normally takes a political party 100 years. Now, this is how bad it is in this country, because this has happened in 15, 20 years. This hasn't happened because we're good party, necessarily. It's the fact is that people want to change, because the three main parties, there's nothing between them, and they're all saying the same thing.
Yeah. What do you think the MPs affecting from, like the Tory MP in Clacton? His name escapes me. What do you think that's done?
Douglas Carswell.
Yes. Yeah. What do you think that's done for British politics? The fact that they're leaving the big three and they're joining sort of the outsiders in the electoral race.
Well, UKIP is the only party without a party whip. So Douglas Carswell, while he was a Tory, he would have to go along with something he didn't agree with, and obviously he didn't agree with Tory policies. That's why he came over to UKIP.
Yeah. You said that you made the change from being a socialist to UKIP. So why did you make that change yourself?
Well, my leader when I first started was Arthur Scargill, and I gave speeches with Arthur Scargill when he came down, and with Bob Crow. And I changed because of the one key thing which has always been important to me. A socialist principle is a complete withdrawal from Europe. That is that's the Socialist Manifesto. Now, UKIP had the same idea of withdrawing from Europe, so I switched from Socialist Labour to UKIP.
Yeah.
Back in 1999.
Yeah. So what happens? You mentioned about leaving the EU, and that's how you're going to fund all the college projects. So what happens if you leave the EU and the countries suffer for it? So people leave trade, because the waters are untested in subjects like that.
Yes, the waters are untested, and there's always that fear. We always have that fear of the unknown. But when you weigh it up, and the fact is, with Europe at the moment, it's on 0.5% inflation. It's going to, as I say earlier on in my speech about dropping into deflation, Europe is going to go through a very serious crisis for the next 5, 10, 15 years. We won't in this country. This country is booming, and a lot of it is because of migrants coming into this country, which have been very supportive and absolutely brilliant in this country. We've got there isn't an anti-migrant thing about this. The fact is, this country is a brilliant country, and that we can govern ourselves. We don't need Europe to tell us how to control our borders and how to look after our people.
Yeah. Could you outline UKIP's sort of main flagship policies, and especially those to do with education?
Yes, but on the education is to bring back grammar schools.
Yeah, there still are grammar schools in parts of London.
For other schools to be able to actually improve their standard and apply to be grammar schools, so there'll be more grammar schools. It does approve of free schools. It says it in the policy. Now, to me, as I say personally, the jury's out on that, because I'm sure that it is open for abuse. I just don't like this idea of free schools. I think all schools should be state-run.
Yeah. Would you not think though that grammar schools are sort of for the elite? So when I lived in London, I went to test for getting to a grammar school, but it was quite stringent test, so it would sort of just be for the elite. So maybe you're cutting off those who haven't had as...
Well, I don't think so, because if it's the 11 plus, say to go to grammar school, I can remember a lot of my mates at school, none of us had a penny, and quite a few of my mates were a lot more intelligent than me. They went to grammar school.
Yeah. If UKIP achieved nothing in the general election, what would happen then for the party?
What would happen? We would keep going. At least we've tried. We're trying to offer an alternative, and we're speaking the truth, and we're saying what we honestly believe. And we can't do any more than that. It's up for the people to decide who they vote for.
So what would it then be for Farage? Would he, do you reckon he'd carry on, or would there be a question of his leadership?
I'm just a lowly candidate. I can't possibly speak for Nigel Farage.
Yeah. The question's really annoying. It's all well saying that you're the People's Party, but what are you doing to connect with your constituency in Southampton Itchen?
Okay, in Weston in January, I've got a good mate of mine, which I'm not name dropping, but I've got Jimmy White coming down to play snooker. He's going to be there playing pool for about 6 hours. he's given me support in Southampton Itchen actually.
Yeah.
And we've got an open day with free food and drinks to get people in there to create the community, because in Western there's a lot of problems there, you know, and which need to be addressed, and we need to get to the root of it, get the people together to actually work and start communicating, because there's a lot of lack of communication. Once you've got problems in the state, people seem to stop talking, you know, and it's no good. We need to talk. We need to bring communities together. Now, I'll tell you another one as well, while you've got the recorder going. Yeah. I'll tell you one about Harefield. Harefield at the moment, there's £20,000 a week collected from somebody I know, money for loan sharks. Now, at the moment, I'm working with a credit union to put a high street credit union in to be able to, so people can actually to re-educate them to actually bank with a credit union, and when they want a payday loan, they borrow the money at a ridiculously low percentage, like a couple of % a month. You know, I mean, this is I feel very strongly about loan sharks and about money shops, and I feel that we should really combat this. Yeah.
Sort of my final sort of double question. What happens if the UKIP got to power? You got your referendum, but the UK said no. What would then happen for UKIP?
Then, if it was no, I mean, it's a lovely hypothetical question. I think we all know we're realists here. We're not going to get into power. We're probably, you know, we'd do well if we get 30, 40 seats. But what that would do, that would give us a balance of power. So we'd be able to put forward to whatever party got in. You know, we can actually throw our weight behind with the backbenchers for the reasons that we believe, you know, and what I strongly believe, and this is what, I mean, everybody's walked out, I'd like to have had a steering group to be able to actually do something, and that to put towards a NatX to really push this now, and to really push this, and especially because I've got a son that's a teacher, and I want to see him get equal pay, the same as all the other teachers.
Yeah. Would UKIP be then classed as a failure? If the EU is sort of their flagship policy, and it didn't go through, would they be classed as a failure?
What, UKIP?
Yeah.
No, at the end of the day, sometimes it's better to be a spectacular failure than a benign success.
Yeah. But then you've got quite far, but achieved nothing almost.
Well, as I say, it's better to be a spectacular failure than a benign success. Who knows? We're fighting, we're going to give it a go, and we're going to give it everything we've got.
Thank you, Mr. Rose.